Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on another member virtual chat. We've seen a lot of exciting animals over the last couple weeks. Again, the zoo is closed. We are in talks of opening the zoo potentially in August, so please stay tuned to that. Emily will send out an email with information when we do know when we can and are going to open. So we do want to open soon to get you guys in there, but we're setting up to make sure that we have all of our social distancing, all of our quarantine, and are meeting all of the guidelines to not only keep you guys safe, but also our amazing animal care staff team, our all of us staff here at the zoo, and of course our animals. So stay with us, but I'm glad that you guys are joining us today for our virtual chat on goats. Goats are pretty exciting. We have 3 different species of goats here, subspecies. And goats, there's over 300 different recognized species of goats. And goats have been connected with humans for a very long time. We have details from archaeologists that have dug up different sites that potentially human and goat interactions are over 10,000 years old. They are said to be one of the first domesticated animals that humans brought into their world for a few different purposes. So for companionship, for food, for milk, for their hide, for their fur, for their bones. So a very useful animal in the human world. And now that's really changed, but in some cultures, they are still used for all those purposes. Here at the zoo, we have 3 different species, and we're gonna turn it around here. First, we're gonna say hi to Hannah. Hannah is out there in our goat habitat. Now, if you've been with us for a couple other of our episodes, we talk about protective contact with all of our powerful animals. So we do not go in with any of our powerful animals, but with some of our smaller non-powerful animals, we do have free contact. Goats would be one of those. Now, Hannah is in the habitat with Steve. Steve is one of our Nigerian dwarf goats right now. We're gonna get to all of these guys over here in just a bit, but Steve is in there. Now, I'm not in there. I am on the outside. I am behind a little fence barrier here. And that's not because the goats are, again, a powerful animal, but anyone that knows anything about goats knows that these guys like to chew things, and they will chew up anything. I've got a lot of electronics here. I've got a table. I've got my laptop. I've got cables that are connected to a webcam so you guys can see. And if I went in there, the goats would just try to chew all that. So I'm out here, but I'm hopefully going to get as close as I can to you guys, or for you guys, so that you guys can see. I'm going to change the camera angle just a sec here. Hold on. We're going to see the sky for a moment. All right. Let's hope that doesn't change up anything. Uh-oh. Hang on. Hang on. Bear with me. Goats with me. This is the challenge with webcams. We are a little overcast here today, so the camera is trying to focus on different things, which does happen, so don't worry, we'll get right back to it. There is our goats. Okay, so we've got Steve. Steve is our Nigerian dwarf goat. We have 7 of these guys here at our zoo, and Hannah is doing what we call target training. So target training is where we ask an animal to go from one point to another using a target. That target can be our hand, it can be a buoy. Right now she's using this purple kind of ball guide stick here. And she is showing off, one, how intelligent goats are, but also how agile goats are. Goats are said to have the intelligence of a dog, so very similar to that of a dog, and they are extremely agile. They have these clove hooves, so we can see 2 toes, so they are in our artiodactyl family order. If you were with us with our rhino, we were saying that the rhino is in a persiodactyl, so they're the odd number-toed ungulates. The goats are part of the artiodactyl, so that's like our sheep and our camels and our llamas. All those guys are related to the goats. And goats are extremely agile because of those 2 toes, and they're basically like tap dancers, so they can walk on the tips of those toes to get into very, very steep areas. Goats are also highly adaptable, which makes them great, again, for domestication with humans, because they can really live in almost any environment. They can live in the cool climates of the Himalayas or down in the Namib Desert down in Africa. So a very adaptable animal. Steve is working on this teeter-totter, so you saw him go up that, and then Hannah is working on him going down. And it does take a little bit of training. Steve is extremely intelligent and picks things up very quickly, but you saw that he was kind of jumping off at the bottom there. And anyone that's worked with dog agility or goat agility, you kind of know that it does take time to train these guys to, one, be comfortable on that and to really understand what you're asking. All of the training we do here at the zoo is all through what we call positive reinforcement. So even when we are free contact, even when we're in with the animal, we still only are going to use positive reinforcement. So you might have heard Hannah do a little beep, beep. We either have a whistle or we'll say good, or we can do a verbal beep. And that is the sign. That's what we call a bridge. And that bridges the connection to when the behavior has been completed and when we're going to give a reinforcement. Reinforcement does vary depending on the animal. So maybe for our goats, we've got some sweet feed, but for a elephant, maybe that's a nice elephant biscuit, or for a lion, maybe that's a piece of cow heart, any of those things. For you, maybe that's some money. We're typically positively reinforced or motivated by money. So that could be our reinforcement. Okay, so Hannah's down here now. In our second, we're gonna move our trolley. Bear with me. We're gonna remove our computer trolley cart here. Here we go. Down to our main goat yard. Now, those of you guys that have been at the zoo before and have been with us at the zoo for a while may know that our goats are in our old elephant habitat. This elephant habitat was built in the early 70s and housed 2 elephants. And back in the 70s, we didn't know everything that we know now about space and enrichment and training. And so this was a fairly decent habitat in the early 70s. Now it is not. This is less than a quarter of an acre. So about a decade ago, 12 years ago, Reid Park Zoo decided we were no longer going to house elephants here in this habitat, and we built Expedition Tanzania, which is our 7-acre habitat for our herd of elephants. Now we have our goats in here. So again, we have 3 different species of goats. We have our Nigerian dwarf goats, which we talked about. That's a species. I'm going to try to move down here a little bit further. All right, I'm just going to try to go mobile without this cart. Let's see how that works. Okay, so that's a species from a subspecies out of Western Africa. And they were kind of bred for being more of a fancy goat, so more of a show goat. And then we have our boers and our Oberhassi. So the boers and the Oberhassi are right here. We have, oh, we're moving. Goats are quick. Goats are quick and goats are agile. Here we go. You're all right. You're all right, Hannah. You just do your thing. We're gonna try to be with you here. So our boer is the largest goat. So that's
Dad, sorry to cut in. It did switch colors again on you.
Oh, it did. Oh, geez. Thanks, Emily. Okay, hang with me. I think it's a little overcast here. And so I think because it's overcast, it's just picking up different colors as I move. Okay, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to let Hannah do her thing. Okay, so the Boer's goat is this white and brown one right here. So we have 2 of these guys. And then the Oberhassi is this little girl right here. She's trying to say hi. Hi, honey. So the Oberhassi is that kind of brown with a black stripe across. And the Boer's goat is one of the largest goat species in the world. They're kind of one of the heaviest, and they were bred for meat. And then the Oberhassi here, they were more of bred for dairy, for milk. And so we talk about all the uses that humans have bred and kept goats for, and they are a great animal as a herd animal because they're very low impact. They don't take as much food or as much room as, say, cattle does. And so for goat farmers, they can keep them in a much smaller area and they still yield enough meat or milk or resources that that family would need. And in different parts of the world, they will house and they will use goats for different reasons. Some areas in Africa, goats are currency. So for the Maasai in East Africa, they will use goats as currency, and they will trade goats. They trade their livestock. If your daughter is being married, the husband's father will typically give your family a goat as a celebration. And so they're very prized animals in different cultures. And we do have wild goats. So these are all domesticated goats here. But there are several species of wild goats. And like I said earlier, they definitely range all over the world. So they range all over the world, and they're highly adaptable to different climates, different elevations. And these guys are different than sheep. Sheep are more flock animals. So, you know, they're very sheepish, to make the pun there. They all kind of flock together, where goats are a little bit more independent. And sheep are also grazers like cows, where goats are browsers. So what Hannah's putting out here is some sumac. This is some great browse, some African sumac. And this is a great treat for the goats. We feed this to our giraffe, to our elephant. And this is another thing that we try to encourage, that natural behavior. So you can see one of our Nigerian dwarf goats way up here. I'm trying to not change the color on it again. All right, so eating some of that, and again, showing that browsing ability to be able to nibble off of plants and shrubs and trees and weeds. And, you know, goats are, they have a great digestive system. They, you know, they don't really eat everything. That's a little bit of a myth. They don't like to eat tin cans and cardboard and anything like that. People say that goats will eat anything. Well, they'll kind of taste anything. They'll nibble on anything. They're very curious animals, but they don't really eat tin cans or, you know, cardboard and stuff like that. They probably could, but it's not what they like to eat. Some people actually use goats as a weed control as well. So there are some companies that you can rent goats, and they will go out and eat all of your weeds. And they're very efficient at doing that because, again, you know, they have a great digestive system that can eat a lot of things. So you can see that natural behavior here. And Hannah works with our goats every day to try to create a lot of that enrichment, which is trying to bring out a lot of those natural behaviors. Another thing that I want you guys to kind of look at, and we might be able to see with our girl here with our Oberhassi, is their eyes. The slits on their eyes is very unique for goats, and it's not unique for the species because other species have it, that horizontal slit across their eye. So let's see if I can position our camera here. Oh, let's see if we can get you. Yeah, okay, so there you go. You might be able to see that horizontal slit across the eye there. And again, horses have this, some horses have this, and sheep have this, a lot of our prey animals. But with these guys, they have a pupil that allows you to actually see that slit. So it's a white pupil that allows you to see that slit, where on all those other animals, you can't. And a lot of our prey species will have that split in their eyeball, and that slit in their eyeball, and that helps them to be able to see potential predators as they're feeding. So we always say eyes in the front, ready to hunt, eyes in the side, ready to hide. And with these guys, as they're looking down eating, or as they're, you know, up browsing like they are right now, they need to be able to have this real panoramic look around them to be able to see potential predators coming. So what this does is this allows them to have more light come in from the front and the back of their eye, and decreases the light from the top and the bottom. And it's kind of similar to, you know, a football player or baseball player putting the black stuff underneath their eye. It reduces that eye glare and allows them to have that panoramic look to be very efficient at avoiding predation. And these guys do have to worry about some predators in the Himalayas. The ibex, the snow leopard is their main predator there. And those animals are extremely agile, and both animals are well equipped to be able to avoid each other or to be able to hunt the other. And so a very well adapted animal, again, from not only its natural abilities, but also the eyes, the ears, and the nose of this animal. How many stomachs does the goat have? These guys are ruminants, so they have 4 stomachs, just like all of our ruminants do. So just like our cows and our sheep and our giraffe, all those animals are considered ruminants. So they do digest very similar, and that's why you can see those little pellets on the ground. That is goat poop. So goat poop, they have these little pellets. Okay, we're gonna try to move down here. Oh, I don't want to lose our view. Because Hannah is setting some stuff up here. So hang on. We're traveling, guys. Traveling. So this is one of our hay feeders that Hannah is setting up here. And this is a great way to, again, bring out some of that natural browse. This is an alfalfa hay. So another thing that we're going to be feeding ruminants, the hindgut fermenters. And this they have to work a little bit at. These are called puzzle feeders, unless they just eat right out of the bucket, because that, of course, is going to happen too. So the puzzle feeders are, again, to encourage our animals to exhibit some of those natural behaviors and to do a little bit of work. We need to exercise all of our animals, just like we have to exercise ourselves. And the different puzzle feeders are asking the animals to be able to do that. And what you'll see too is that Hannah has really put stuff all over the habitat. So we've got some goats here, and we've got some of them over there. And then once they're done with that browse, that sumac, we'll see them probably come over to our alfalfa heater. And Hannah's now putting up this fun thing, and this is another puzzle feeder. Hannah, what do we put in here?
I'm gonna put some more sweet beef grain in here.
So Hannah's saying she's going to put some sweet feed and some grain in here,
Yeah,
which they really enjoy.
Higher, but it makes them have to reach and kind of maneuver the little place here, and so it's not just them eating it off the ground. It makes them work for a little bit and forage.
Yeah, so again, these guys are highly intelligent, and so they are asked to kind of figure out some of our puzzles, which is good. Okay, we're going to go down here because we've got one of our goats being a little bit silly. We're standing up. Oh, he's like, oh no. There's Steve. So here's Steve. This is our teeter-totter goats there. And all of them do have names. I do not know all their names. Hannah knows all of their names. She knows them all individually, and she's out here all the time with them and makes sure that they are all healthy and have great food and have great training. And we've really set up this agility course going throughout the entire habitat. So all these logs, all these rocks, are again to simulate what they may encounter in some of their natural habitats, some goat natural habitats. Goats are known to be one of the fastest climbers in the world. So a couple fun stats is the mountain goat has been known to climb 500 vertical meters every 20 minutes, 500 vertical meters, which is extremely difficult to do. They have great stamina and that great agility that really allows them to hang on just the edge of the cliff. I'm a rock climber, and I always call goats the rock climbers of the animal world. These guys, they just seem like there's no way that they can get up and down steep cliffs, and they do it with ease. And again, that's because of their hoof structure and those 2 toes that help splay out to really allow them to get some good balance. So Emily, do we have any questions going on out there?
Yeah. Do you think you could tell us one more time how to identify the 3 separate types of goats?
Yeah, okay, so we have the Nigerian dwarf goat. So these guys are a little bit shorter. They have multiple colors. So you have a black and white right here, and then kind of a light tawny brown. And then we have our boar. And our boar, okay, let's see if we can get over to our boar. Hang on, guys. So we have, let me see if I can reach my arm in here to see if we can get a little bit closer. Okay, so the boar, I know it's hard to see on the camera. I'm sorry, guys. The boar has this white back and brown head, so they typically have this variation of this white and brown. There we go. Hannah might try to bring our boar out there. So, yep, so that's one of our boars. We have 2 of those. And then the Oberhassi is way over here. And this is kind of our darker brown with a black stripe going down. Oh, here's a good shot at one of our boars here. Hang on. Okay, so there's one of our boars right there, walking across. And then there's the Oberhassi. Oberhassi is going to go to Hannah right now. So, and she is this dark brown with a black stripe going down. And again, the Oberhassis were really bred for being a milk goat. And I think milk in a lot of other countries besides the United States, goat milk is extremely popular. It is becoming popular here in the United States. But places like Sudan and India, goat production is, not as high as cattle, but it's definitely up there. It's much higher than it is here for not only meat, but also milk. So I think, I start seeing goat milk more and more out in our grocery stores, goat cheese, and a lot of people that can't drink cow milk may be able to drink goat milk. So dietary and also, sometimes the impact on our environment. Our goats are a little bit more friendly of the impact on our environment than cattle are. So for a conservation standpoint, goats make a lot of sense to be able to have as, kind of a production animal too, for milk and for meat. So that's how you tell the difference between our three here. And I believe we have 10 goats total, Hannah? Yeah, so we have 10 goats total. We have 2 of the boars, which are here, and 1 of the Oberhassi, and then 7 of our Nigerian dwarfs. And the Nigerian dwarfs come in kind of all different colors. So again, they're kind of more of the fancy goats. So you can see some white ones, and we see some black and whites. But the boars and the Oberhassi kind of have the same coloration if you were to see them. So great question. Emily, do we have another one?
Yes. So you said that they're pretty smart, similar intelligence to dogs, and that they all have names. Do you know if they know their names?
Hannah, do you think they know their names?
I think the ones that are really sociable and really enjoy that human interaction definitely do.
So I think goats, just like dogs, they have personalities, and some of them are probably more sociable than others. And what Hannah is saying is that we have some very sociable goats. Steve is one of them that you saw doing the teeter-totter. And so the ones that are more sociable, they definitely come to their name.
Ari here definitely knows her name.
So this is Ari. That's what Hannah's telling me. Is our Oberhassi here is Ari, and Hannah's saying that Ari definitely knows her name. Hi, Ari. That's a cute picture of your face there. You are too adorable. And again, seeing that great eye slit there for those pupils, those horizontal pupils. So some of them do, some of them, not all of them do. And, Hannah has to work with all of them in different ways, just like we all have our unique personalities. So do the goats. So, yeah. All right, Emily, what do we got?
We had a question that says that some of the goats look a little wide through the belly. Are they a normal weight, or are they maybe a little overweight?
Yeah, it's one of the things that Hannah does keep a very close eye on is weights. Just like all of our keepers, we have to get weights on our animals. So these guys here are a little bigger, but again, that's the breed. So they were bred for being a meat goat. So we want to make sure all of our goats are in an ideal weight. And I mean, just like us, we all kind of vary a little bit. So the Nigerian dwarf goats all vary a little bit. Some of them are a little bit more gluttonous than others.
A lot of that wide you get though with some of the bigger goats, that's their rumen. So it makes them look a little bit bigger than they are, but that's just their stomach.
So Hannah's saying that some of the wider parts that you're seeing is their rumen, which is one of those 4 chambers of stomachs that these guys have, and can definitely distend with foliage and gas as well. So they can look a little wider, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they are fat or that they are carrying extra weight. But these guys are all in what we would consider ideal condition. And so we look at body condition and health condition, and we rate all the animals and then change up their diet accordingly. So, but again, these guys, the boars over there, they're going to be a little bit more stout because that's just the way the breed is.
And I think we can see on the boars that they do have horns. Do all of our goat species have horns?
Yeah, so some of them will and some of them will not. And the boars typically do, both males and females will grow horns. And some species will have them and some species will not. Some of them we can actually trim. So we can trim the horns of them either when they are first born or down the road to keep it a little bit safer for all the other goats in the herd. And to make sure they don't get it stuck on something. A little bit different than our cows and our sheep. Our cows and our sheep were bred to not have horns, and that's what's called being polled, when we can poll a species. And so historically, all of our cattle and our sheep had horns, but we were able to figure out the genetics of them to select those genetics to selectively breed those animals to not have horns. What we've noticed with research with our goats is that the genetic hormone that tells the goat to have a horn is closely related to their gender. And so it's not one that is can be bred out of the goats. So some species do have it, some individuals have them. They are sexually dimorphic by having them. Some species in the wild, only the males will have the horns. So it really varies by individual. And then also how we can manage them here in human care. Sorry, that was more of a scientific answer to genetics there.
That was great. How did we choose these three breeds of goats, and do we have any plans on breeding them?
We do not have any plans on breeding them, and these goats were chosen. They're some of the most common goats for domesticated use here. And so the Nigerian dwarfs are a very common one, the boars and the Oberhassi. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to bring in some goats that were easily managed and that were a good size and were able to tell a great story. So goats, really, although these are domesticated goats, they still tell a great story about not only our wild goats, but also how humans have domesticated these animals and used them in a lot of daily uses. This space here that we're in, as I said, it was our old elephant habitat. 12 years ago, 13 years ago, we created Expedition Tanzania, and we no longer are going to have elephants in this small area. But in phase 2 of our master plan, we are looking to renovate this area for potentially hippos. So the hippos are in our master plan. We are in phase 1 right now of our master plan in construction of our front plaza and our flamingo habitat. And then quickly we will move outside of that to our world of play and to our Asia expansion. That's all part of phase 1. And then after that, we are going to work on expanding into our Africa area. So we knew that down the road, this area was going to be most likely hippos. And we didn't want to spend a lot of money once the elephants got out of here on renovating it, knowing that we were just going to change it up. So that wouldn't be very fiscally responsible for us. So goats were a great animal to go in here and be kind of our intermediate animal. We're kind of looking into the sun, which is why it's challenging, I think, with our webcam here. Do we have any other questions, Emily?
Yeah. So there are some things on the ground, sort of right in the middle of the view you're showing us right now. Are those mats, or what are they?
They are, and those are station mats, and it's just another texture and another spot, but it's also an area that Hannah can come out and put a scale on so that we can get a good weight on them. It's an even ground. It's just different texture for the goats. They don't chew it up or anything. And that toy that's right there, that's another puzzle feeder that has a hole in it, and the goats have to flip that over, and Hannah's put some sweet feed in there and challenge those goats to flip that over to get to the reward. So yeah, so they've got a little mat right here. There is a big shaded spot over on the far side. You can see those little pyramid looking buildings over there that have misters and they have heaters, and there's water all over the place. They have larger platforms they can jump on. So different feeders all over the place, different elevations, different substrates, logs and rocks and mats and dirt. So just a very varied habitat here for our goats.
So even though we're not planning on breeding any of our goats, do you know when goats are born, are they able to walk right away?
They are. So they get up very quickly, and they are able to stand within about 10, 15 minutes, and then be up with their mom very soon after that, starting to nurse. They typically will have anywhere between 1 and 3 offspring, and their offspring are called kids. So the intact males are called billies, and then we have our does or our females or our nannies. And then the offspring, the young goats, are called kids. And they typically, again, either 1 to 3, most likely there is 2. They become sexually mature at about a year old. So again, they can breed fairly quickly. These guys can live anywhere from about 15 to 18 years. 15 to 18 years. So the gestation for a goat is about 150 days. So about 150 days for the gestation period of a goat. And again, typically 1 to 2, and they get up pretty quickly. Hi, buddy. He's just hanging out with us. Yeah, see, that's why you can see typical goat behavior there. All of them do get along, but you know, goats do like to push each other around. So that's why we have a lot of space here for them.
Awesome. We had another question about their hearing. Do they have particularly good sense of hearing?
They do. They have, and it really depends on the species. Our domesticated goats probably don't have as much. Typically what we see is animals that have the floppy ears. So our Boer goat here that has a floppy ear, they probably don't rely that much on their hearing. They probably rely more on their sense of smell and their eyesight. Our ones with our smaller pointed ears are relying more on our hearing and less on the sense of smell and sight. So, but you know, they do have good hearing, not probably as well as some species. But our wild goats, they probably have much better hearing because they have to worry about predators where our domesticated ones really don't. So again, probably most relying on sense of smell and that eyesight for potential predators.
And then just last kind of 2 related questions, I think, Jed. Does Hannah use a whistle or any other sound for training? And why do we use the teeter-totter in particular?
So she does use a whistle during our COVID with all of our masks on. It's hard to be able to blow a whistle with a mask on. So that's why she's reverted to just saying a tweet or a beep. And we do train them on both of those bridges to be able to do that. And the teeter-totter is kind of, again, one of those fun training things. So not only is it mentally enriching, but also physically enriching. So we look to, you know, what are the animals interested in doing? Do they want to participate in this? Are they having fun in this? So Hannah will challenge them with different things, different obstacles. And if she finds that one of them is really enjoying it, well, she'll work with that goat to be able to do that. So it doesn't really have necessarily a physical function or a medical function other than, you know, by asking one of the goats to do that, we definitely get a good look at it. And if it's limping or, you know, if it can't do it for some reason, that could be a sign of a medical thing. But a lot of times it's more just fun for them to be able to do that. So, and with some of our, you know, what we would consider our domesticated animals, which these guys are pretty much our only domesticated animals here at the zoo, we're able to do a little bit more of that kind of fun, enriching stuff.
And we got one more question if you're game, Jed.
All right, go for it.
How is their sense of smell?
So again, sense of smell is pretty good, probably not that of a dog, but their sense of smell is fairly good. Eyesight is going to be really one of their main ones, though. These guys with their pupils, their horizontal pupils, are really going to be able to see across very well. So sense of smell, you know, is better than humans because all animals pretty much have better sense of smells than we do. We don't rely on their sense of smell for anything, but it's not extraordinary. It's not, you know, something that's gonna, you know, really make the fact sheets or, you know, be one of their standout adaptations. So, you know, they definitely have a good sense of smell, but nothing that you're gonna, you know, really talk about. So, all right, how was that? Did we get all of our goat stuff in?
Yeah, I believe so.
All right, guys. Well, I just want to thank you guys again for everything that you guys are doing to support the Reid Park Zoo. You know, your membership means so much to us. You guys are such loyal, valuable part of our community and really what makes this zoo amazing. So thank you guys for becoming members, staying zoo members, all the support that you guys give us. And we really look forward to seeing you guys here at the zoo when we open, which we're not exactly sure yet, but it should be soon. So from all of us here at the Reid Park Zoo and our goats, we say goodbye and stay wild, Tucson.